Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to Blackhawks Banter, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. This is episode 76. It's the Jakub Galvas episode. Defensive prospect who wore number 76 for the Blackhawks in 6 games this season, and then maybe we'll see him more next season. Who knows? But I am joined today, as usual, by my partner in crime, Brooke LoFurno. How are you doing today, Brooke?
I'm great. I got my celebratory earrings on to celebrate the fact that we survived the season, and we got some awards to hand out. So you know what? And it's the Met Gala, so we're all in fashion today.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love your earrings so much. Okay, so I am your host today, Gail Kauchak, and we've got lots to discuss. So let's hop right into topic number 1, which is the week that was. I know the season's over, but it's fresh in our minds. So let's kind of talk about these last 3 games. Let's see. The Blackhawks last Monday played the Philadelphia Flyers, where they won 3-1. Then on Wednesday, they met the Vegas Golden Knights and knocked them out of playoff contention officially with a win 4-3 in the shootout. And then the last game of the season, Buffalo Sabres loss was 3-2 in overtime. So, Brooke, what would you like to discuss about those past 3 games?
You know what? It was actually a pretty good week because they looked really good against Philadelphia and Vegas for their standards. It wasn't perfect, but for them, it was really good. And I actually thought against Vegas, they didn't let up a lead. They actually played a very solid game all 3 periods. So I was like, okay, again, it's like a typical Blackhawks week, because then after that, they lost to Buffalo, gave up 2 leads to Buffalo and lost. And I was like, okay, this was typical Blackhawks. You think they might be turning a corner when they play really well and then they stink it up again. And you're like, okay, here we go again. So I felt like that week was very Blackhawks fashion. And I don't think it couldn't have had a more perfect ending for their season in that way. But I will give a shout out to Delia and Lincoln, because I know it's been a tough season for them with Fleury gone and stuff and them having to take on more responsibility. But they actually had a pretty good end to the season. Delia did really well, I thought. Who did he play against? Buffalo. And Lincoln, I thought, did really well against Vegas. So I'm glad that even though it was a tough season for them, the losses piled up. I think Delia only had 1 win and Lincoln had 8 wins this year. At least it was a strong finish to the season. So I'm happy for them. I don't know what their futures hold here, but it's good to see at least a positive for them.
Yeah, I think they both ended up pretty much on a strong note. I told you they were going to lose to the Buffalo Sabres. Remember last week? I said, I just don't think they're going to cut it. And sure enough, they blow it.
You know what? They have dominated Buffalo. What was it? They were like 16-5 or something against them in the past whatever years. And now I think the tides might be turning. Buffalo might be kind of a sleeper team next year.
Yeah, Buffalo's on the rise. So good for them. Let's see. What would I like to highlight? I would like to say, how about that Kurashev, Lafferty, and Radish line? Against the Golden Knights, they're responsible for 2 goals. Radish with both of them, but everybody was involved. And I think that these 3, it's nice to see them develop some chemistry when they kind of got thrown together here at the end of the season. Threat to score, and that's your third line, so I'm not complaining about that. I think that I'd really like to see all 3 of them back. I think Radish and Lafferty are already signed, but I'd like to see Kurashev signed as well. I think all 3 have some good potential and can also be kind of signed on the cheap. A couple other things I want to mention. Tyler Johnson and his shootout win against the Vegas Golden Knights. I mentioned last week that he had he was doing pretty well. He was my player to highlight. So it was nice to see him cap off the season with that game-winning goal and big smile on his face. And he also had an assist on Dominik Kubalik's goal in the Sabres game. So that was nice. But speaking of which, what I'd really like to highlight about that goal is defenseman Alex Vlasic, who basically that was his 2nd NHL point with the primary assist. And that was just a nifty goal. He pinched up the ice, backhand pass right to Kubalik, right in his wheelhouse so he could score that goal. So Vlasic has really impressed me down the stretch here. So it's kind of nice to see that.
Yeah, I was excited for Tyler Johnson, especially because it was like the 7th round, right? And at that point, I was like, who the heck are they going to put in? And then when I saw Tyler Johnson, I was like, you know what? screw it. They need something. And then he actually did. And that's what made it fun. I was like, okay, here you go. Maybe he should have been an option.
It was awesome. They were saying he had just the fattest smile on his face when he went back to the, to high five.
Yeah. So that was fun.
All right. So that was the last 3 games, but now we're going to get a little bit more broad and basically talk about the eulogy for the most part, or the end of the season analysis. The Blackhawks final record was 28-42-12 for 68 points, which was 7th in their division and 27th in the league. So let's be positive first. Brooke, what do you think went right about this season? What are some high points?
Do you know what? I actually had a hard time with this one, as probably most Blackhawk fans did. But I will say that something that I thought went right this season was the 4th line, especially after the trade deadline. I know we talked about the bottom 6 a lot, but Kauchak, Reese Johnson, and Mackenzie Entwistle actually had a pretty good shutdown line going for those few games there against good opponents, Dallas, Calgary. I think even Derek King shouted him out as just a really solid line. And again, they're not standout-ish, but that's a good thing. But I don't know if that's a long-term solution for this team. But for this season, I thought it worked. And I know Mackenzie Entwistle got injured there for a bit. So Borgstrom went in, and I thought he did okay, too, in that role. But overall, I thought that 4th line was a positive. They did really well with their skill set, and I enjoyed watching them. So like I said, don't know if that's a long-term solution, but hey, it worked for this year. That's something that I thought went right.
Very good. Yeah, you're right. We definitely need those depth players. On the other side, I'm going to say, how about that Katstrom-Kane line, the top line, right? Once they finally got put together, they never looked back. Basically, I think it was like the end of January or something, and they pretty much stayed together the entire rest of the half of the season. It was a nice, it was nice to see that, and it kind of made the rest of the season fun. Another thing I think went right, I think it was the right move to bring Derek King in, obviously. Jeremy Colleton was way too set in his ways, way too stubborn. It was time to make a move. And King was just the right person to come in with his lighthearted attitude, and he got everybody to relax. And he was just at the right place at the right time with his right attitude. And I know that the organization actually just recently announced that they parted ways with assistant coach Mark Crawford and Rob Cookson on Sunday, but King's situation is still up in the air. I think it could go one or 2 ways, or maybe even 3 ways. They might announce King as the head coach, and then he would get to hire his own staff. Or they would determine somebody else as the coach, and that person would determine whether or not King stays on, maybe as an assistant coach. Or they could totally get rid of King altogether. Who the heck knows what they're going to do? But we'll see. We'll find out. And the last thing I want to touch on that I think went right is, even though we were unhappy with a lot of this losing, let's face it, you guys, they had lots and lots of the young prospects up on trial runs. And I think that's going to give them a head start. That was kind of their rebuild starting already. It's going to give them a head start going forward next season and beyond. So, yeah.
I think we knew that even going into the season, I think 5 games and we're like, all right, this season's lost. So let's just see the prospects. And they did that right. So I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely right. And I think we all were kind of in denial about it, but they kind of knew, and that was their plan. So
yeah,
they went forward with that. So,
and I think they had the most rookie goals in the league, if I'm not or had like the most call ups and rookie goals kind of thing, or that might've been last season, but either way, I think that carried into this year too.
Yeah, I do remember something like that last season, but you very could well be this way this season as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it seemed like we had a lot of first goals.
I might have to check that out. We could be very close on that front. Well, this one's going to be a little bit easier. What went wrong this season? What went wrong? A couple things that went wrong.
Oh, what didn't go wrong at this point? I don't know. It was perfect. It was a perfect season. I can't think of one thing. Can you?
Stop.
I don't know. To be honest, I think what went wrong was scoring. That was a big thing. You can't win unless you score goals. And the offense this year was like almost like nausea inducing. I can't. Yeah, it was just very bad. I don't know but you can't just rely on Kane and DeBrincat. I think that's what we learned very well this year. I know they leaned on him heavy last year, but this year was more evident because everyone was out and no one was helping him either. Taze wasn't his old self. Dach wasn't himself. Kubalik was off. Like just the scoring and lack of talent was so evident this year, especially when going against top teams like Tampa and Minnesota. You're like, oh, this team's got a long way to go. So what went wrong was scoring and lack of talent for sure. And I don't know how they're going to fix that this offseason, but it's got to happen.
Very good point. Very good point. Lack of depth, which I think, just really hurt them. They didn't have anybody else to fill in. I'm going to mention the power play, of course. It finished 21st in the league. And you would think that with all the firepower that they have, that it wouldn't be that way. But somehow it is. So I'm sure that they will be looking at that for next season, trying to figure out how to get that better. And then the defense. The defense needs work as well. Coach King did state when he came in that he just kind of tweaked it. He didn't want to make any overarching changes coming in the middle of the season like that. So there were tweaks along the way, but that was about it. So a full training camp and preseason next year to help defensively. So, right, we got lack of depth and talent and scoring, problems defensively, power play.
We really got a lack of everything. Just a lack of everything. We got a lacking coaching, lacking offense.
Actually, now that I didn't even think about this, but we saw the lack of depth in goaltending as well. How much we leaned on the Blackhawks leaned on Marc-Andre Fleury until he was gone.
Again, this whole team's lacking everything. Oh my gosh, you'd think there was no team on the ice with how much they're lacking.
Oh boy. Well, it wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed the season anyway. But all right. We are midway through our show here, so I would like to take this opportunity to tell you that the Hockey Writers now has its own, the Hockey Writers Sports Betting Guide. This is a brand new source for your daily sports betting odds, lines, props, and futures, as well as some daily fantasy strategies and analysis. So please make sure to follow THW Bets on Twitter and Facebook to get the latest on everything sports betting. So that's pretty exciting. But please, I would also like to remind you, obviously, to bet responsibly. So let's move on to topic number 3, which is actually some recent signings. Let's talk a little bit about that. The Blackhawks signed their first 2 free agents here. Reese Johnson on April 13th was extended for 2 years, $800,000 cap hit for the next 2 years. Sam Lafferty on the 29th. Also got a 2-year extension at 1.15 million cap hit. So what do you think about these 2 new signings?
These signings were probably like the most kind of like under the radar signings ever. I think people like acknowledged it and then were like, okay. Anyway, so like it was like the most kind of like not really talked about, but Johnson, I was a little more and like I said, he did good on the 4th line, but I don't know, like I said, if that's a long-term solution there, but obviously the team likes him a lot. So, okay. Sam Lafferty, though, I was not surprised by that. He did deserve an extension. I don't know exactly what his future is still here, but for right now, I'm okay with it. And you know what? They're on cheap deals, so it's okay. It doesn't hurt the team one way or another. If they end up stinking up the joint, then they'll be easy to move probably, but like I'm okay. I'm okay with it. Sam Lafferty for sure, though. He deserved it, and he could have a really good season next year, I think. So again, doesn't hurt the team at all one way or another, but kind of more like not overly exciting. Doesn't really hurt the team either way, I think.
Well, they're both depth guys, and you can never have too much depth. Johnson was really good on the 4th line this year. They're both centers. They're both very versatile, can play up and down the lineup. Lafferty a little bit more than Johnson. But I think the thing that stands out is they're both just hard to play against. They're both high energy, with a little bit of skill mixed in there as well. So, and like you said, they're cheap. So I don't have a problem with either one of these guys as well. And you're right, they did kind of go a little bit under the radar, but I don't think that we should let them go under the radar, because I think that both of them will be good pieces next year and good for the rebuild. So, and we'll see who's next. This is just the start. It'll be interesting who they decide in the offseason to sign and who to basically not sign. You've got Dominic Kubalik, you have Dylan Strome. These are more high-profile players, obviously. Kirby, Dach, and Philip Kurashev. So more to follow on them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Saving up the money for other people.
It should be an interesting offseason, that's for sure. We'll have plenty to talk about. Okay, topic number 4. We would like to look back on our preseason predictions. Our show on October 14th. Thank you, Brooke. Actually, Brooke is the one that actually went and looked this up. I was very busy this weekend doing my player grades. So go to head on over to hockeywriters.com and check that out. Brooke, I think your latest article was Dylan Strome about his kind of comeback season. So everybody check out our articles. And so Brooke did get this research for us. Let's see, here's some obvious ones that we can talk about. Who will lead the team in points? Both of us said that it would be Patrick Kane, and yes, we were correct. 92 points for Kane. Who will lead the team in goals? We both said DeBrincat. We were right, 41 goals for DeBrincat. And who will lead the defense in points? Seth Jones, 51 points. So good for them for living up to their expectations. Let's get to a few more of the depressing ones for our preseason predictions. Where will this team place in the Central? I must have had my head in the clouds because when they were still a playoff, contender, we thought. I said they would place 3rd. Brooke said they would place 5th, and they placed 8th. We know that now. How many points will the team have? I said 102, and Brooke said 95. And I
don't know what we were thinking. What were we thinking? And I don't know.
68 points was what they came away with, but it was they had such high hopes at the beginning. Very depressing. All right, let's move on. What would you say now? This is a little bit more positive. So we also predicted who would be our breakout player for the season. And I said Dominic Kubalik, and Brooke, I think you said Tyler Johnson. I think we can both agree that neither one of them were the breakout player this year, but now we can look in hindsight. Who would you say was your breakout player this year?
Do you know what's funny is last year or the year before that, I said Alex Nylander was going to be our breakout player. And then this year I said Borgstrom. So I feel like at this point, if I say whoever's going to break out, it usually means it's going to go sideways. So it's kiss of death, basically, whoever I pick. So I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm really bad at that. But I will say a breakout player for me, I am going to go with Radish, actually. He was only with us for half a season, I know, but he did really well in the short time he was here. I know he had 10 points in 21 games, and most of that came within the first 12 games I think he was with us. So he did pretty well, and 6 goals is a career high for him. He got 5 last year. So I think he's trending in the right direction. So I'll say that was a pretty breakout season for him, even though it was half a season. But yeah, I liked it.
Well, we'll have to ask you again when we do our preseason for next year and see if you still think that Radish will be your breakout player for next year, right?
Don't say that because, like I said, it's like a kiss of death. It means it'll go sideways.
Well, it's a definite possibility, though,
Yeah.
I would say that my breakout player is Dylan Strome. Congratulations to Strome. He had a tough end of the last season. He had a tough beginning of this season. And who would have thunk it that he would stick with it and basically end with 22 goals, 3rd place on the team, and 48 points, 4th place on the team. So Radish and Strome are breakout players.
The Erie Otters were the breakout players.
You got it, the Erie Otters. And all right, so what's the next one? Which newcomer will impress the most? And I said Jake McCabe, and Brooke said Borgstrom, right? Henrik Borgstrom.
Mm-hmm.
So would you still agree with that? Who in hindsight is the newcomer that impressed the most?
Sorry, guys. I said that for the last question. Sorry, I meant for the newcomer, not the breakout player. Still, same thing.
Yes, it's kind of the same.
Yeah, same point. Same point is that when I say that, it's a bad thing. The newcomer that impressed me the most. Do you know what? I'm gonna go with I'll just try to go a little different here because I could say Sam Lafferty, which I still agree with, but I'm gonna go rookie here, and I'm gonna go with Jakub Galvis. Actually, I didn't see a lot of him this year. We didn't see enough of him. I don't think when he was here, it was only for a few games, but he was impressive every game. I don't think he had a bad game when he was here. I wanted to see more of him, and I'm disappointed we didn't, but definitely. I thought he was a newcomer I was actually really impressed with. Didn't think I'd see him at all this season. I don't think he was a name that was even on our radar, but he did really well in the games he was here. I think it was only less than 10 games, but still really liked him a lot. I hope we see more of him next year because like I said, I don't think he had a bad game the whole time he was here.
There's actually a lot of newcomers to pick from because, like I said, there were so many people that were kind of up and down between the Ice Hawks. I was actually thinking about Radish for this, but then if you're thinking of actually, being fair and going with the player that was like, here at the beginning of the season, I'm just going to give a shout out to Seth Jones. I think that a lot of people might disagree with me here. You can tell me in your comments, but I think that Seth Jones lived up to his expectations. Defensively, he's the motor that kept that defense running. He played heavy minutes, all situations. He made it look easy, you guys, but it is really, really, really not easy to do what he does. And so good for him.
I agree with that. He is a number one defenseman on this team. That's what they signed him to be, and that's what he was this season. So that definitely lives up to expectations.
We were disappointed with his offensive production, but watch him score a crap load of goals next season. I could see it like kind of all coming around. Yeah, all right, let's move on. I wanted to get a little bit creative here because we all probably agree that the MVP is Patrick Kane or DeBrincat, and your best defenseman is Seth Jones. So we're going to have just a couple awards for some out of the box type things. We'll be a little bit negative here first, but then we'll get fun. Most disappointing player, Brooke.
I have to go with Kirby Dach. I know Greg said that in our mid-season awards, but to be honest, okay, guys, I'm going to be frank with you guys, you Blackhawk fans here, because that's what we're here to do. Kirby Dach, there's not a lot about his game this season that I even thought was impressive. And that's hard to say because it's one thing if you're not producing, but you're showing like flashes where you're like, oh, once this guy puts it together, it'll be good. But this season, even with the full season, I was still like, there really wasn't a lot that he did that impressed me that much. He couldn't win a face-off. He couldn't score. He couldn't finish. Like, it felt like for the, he was picked third overall. And I felt like there was a lot more that he could have done to impress me or to impress fans or the team or whatever. And I wasn't, like I said, nothing he did was impressive. And I felt like he just couldn't do anything good. It felt like this year. And that is really disappointing. I hope maybe next year will be different. I'm not ready to write him completely off, but I will say that I just, like I said, was not thrilled with what I saw from him this year at all. Just didn't stand out to me at all in the way I thought he would this year. So I'm going to say Kirby Dach for sure.
He does a few things right. He's strong on the puck. His physical presence. But you know what? I picked him too. I picked him as my most disappointing player as well. So we're in agreement. Kirby Dach for everything, all the expectations that he had. He was the most disappointing.
And again, it's not personal. Kirby Dach seems like a really nice guy, really humble. Seems like he works hard. Again, it's not personal. It's just performance. Sorry, I want to make that.
He's lost his confidence. He's been put in a tough situation because he was basically put into the NHL too soon. And I hope that they can turn around the trajectory of his development.
Yeah.
We are hopeful, even though we're picking him. Sorry, Kirby.
Sorry about that.
We're sending our positive vibes to you for the future. Okay. Most likely to not be with the team next season.
Borgstrom, because I picked him. Because I picked him as a person that did not impress. So
you could say a lot of people, and I think that there'll be a lot. The team's going to be way different. But the person that I would most like not to be on the team next year is Borgstrom, because I just don't think that he made any contributions. His minutes were so limited.
Well, then
get rid of him.
Well, then to say something different, I will say I don't think Gustafsson will be here either. If he is, I will be shocked, but I don't think he will be.
Or Calvin Dach.
Yeah. Oh, I hope not.
Yeah. Okay. These ones are fun. We get to our fun awards here. Best nickname.
You know what? Hockey nicknames are so bad because they just add like an ER at the end of everything. Taser, Kane, or Docker, that whole thing. But I will say I love Laffy Taffy. I think you were probably going to say that. I did like Laffy Taffy. And do you know what? I saw Derek King call Alec Regula Reggie. And for some reason, I thought that was funny. So I'm going to go with Sam Lafferty's Laffy Taffy and Regula's Reggie. I don't know.
Reggie instead of Regs. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. Okay, Laffy Taffy's a good pick. Absolutely. I think it was Mark Lazarus that gave him that. His daughter called him Laffy Taffy something. And the Chicago Blackhawks, when they put up on their official website that they re-signed him, they actually said Laffy Taffy up.
Yeah.
So I guess Laz has a lot of pull around here. One of my favorite nicknames also would be Twisty for Entwistle. That's a good one too. So.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, I still think our favorite name probably is Team Kales for Caleb Jones. That was
Team Kales, even though nobody calls him that. But.
I know, no one calls him it but us, but you know what? It sticks between us, and it's catchy, and I like it.
It was a good one. Okay.
It was a good one.
We're going to get completely subjective here because it's fun. That's what we're here for. Who's your favorite player in the Blackhawks? Pick one.
Again, to be frank, there's not a whole lot to like, to be honest. I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay. So I'm going to go with, I'm trying to go different than Patrick Kane and DeBrincat because that seems pretty obvious, but I'm going to go with Connor Murphy. And I understand he's not the perfect defenseman, but you know what? He's been really good for the Blackhawks and he's a great guy off the ice. So I will say Connor Murphy is my current favorite right now, but that could end up improving too. There's actually a lot on the defense I like, to be honest with you. I like Seth Jones, but I'm going to go with Connor Murphy.
Connor Murphy, he's from the US of A. He's the alternate captain, unassuming, humble, also accountable. He was somebody that I had penciled in as well. I think we both, it's really hard to not like Connor Murphy. But since you took him, I am going to go with Calvin Dach. I just think he's a good guy and a good leader and also humble. And he's funny, man. When he interviews, he's a funny interview. He's always kind of cracking jokes. And what the heck? He owns a brewery, for goodness sake. So I'll go with Calvin. Calvin Dach is my favorite player.
Love him too. Sorry, guys. We didn't say Eric Gustafson. Sorry.
It's going to be tough to see Calvin Dach go. But
yes. Maybe he won't, though. We thought he'd be traded the past 2 years, and he's still here. So maybe not.
Yeah, well, that was one of his things he would joke about. He would come on interview and be like, I'm still here, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we are to the end. We are to our famous shootout round. And of course, we're going to get a little bit different with this one since the Blackhawks are out of it. Playoff predictions. I would like to go ahead and have each of us, it's this time of year where we can talk about each series and say who we think is going to win and how many games. And of course, we can revisit this in a week or two when it actually happens and see how we did. So let's start with the East, Florida Panthers versus Washington Capitals.
Okay, again, my predictions are never right. And it's a kiss of death usually. So just putting that out there. But I had the Panthers beating the Capitals in 6 games, only because Washington's a little sketchy, I think, with their kind of inexperienced goaltending and stuff. So I'm going to go with the Panthers in 6.
I agree. And we don't really know what the health is of Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
But he's probably beaten up. So I actually said Panthers in 5. So I'm rooting for the Panthers. Well, and the Presidents, right? Presidents, they were the ones that.
Oh, yeah, they were the President's Trophy.
Okay, so we're going with the Panthers. Carolina Hurricanes versus the Boston Bruins.
I have the Hurricanes in 7. I like the Hurricanes. They do pretty well against Boston too. I know that means nothing in the playoff scheme of things, but they do play well against them. So I know Boston's a tough out, but I think Carolina's got it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Hurricanes. I'm going to be rooting for them.
No Tavo.
And I don't really like the Bruins. So, but I'm honestly, I'm not. I'm saying who I like here, but I really do think that the Canes will win and in 6.
Yeah.
6 games. Okay, Toronto Maple Leafs versus Tampa Bay Lightning.
I got the Lightning in 5. I don't know about Toronto, man. They have so much scoring, but they never can seem to pull it together for the playoffs. So I can't say Toronto.
They're chokers. They always choke in the playoffs. I said the same thing. Lightning 5. We're in agreement there.
Yeah.
Okay. New York Rangers versus Pittsburgh Penguins.
I got the Rangers. They got the hot goalie, and they seem hungry this year, so I'm going to go with them. And I kind of think the Penguins are a little bit overrated this year. They're good in some ways, but they're bad in a lot of ways too.
You said Rangers and what?
Penguins?
How many games?
Rangers in 6, sorry.
Rangers in 6. Okay. I have Rangers in 7. I think it might be a tough series, 7 games. And it's fun when they go to 7 games.
Yeah.
When they're not your team. Otherwise,
It is fun, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the West because that's where we're from and that's fun. Colorado Avalanche versus the Nashville Predators.
I got the Avalanche in 5.
Is anybody going for the Predators?
I do think the Predators are very hard to play against. I know they said they beat the Avalanche a few times this season, but I don't know. Avalanche are just an avalanche of a team. They just
didn't they choke their very last game and then ended up being like Dallas?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, that's another thing too. If you're going in the season going into the postseason kind of iffy, that's not a good sign.
Okay, I said Avalanche in 5 as well. So I think we're all in agreement there. Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars.
I got the Flames in 6. Dallas, I don't know, man. They're like the Penguins, good in some ways, bad in some ways too. But the Flames just got it this year, I think.
I don't know the Flames too well, but that's what I keep on hearing is that they've got it. I could see, I don't know, for some reason, if I had to make an upset pick, I would say Dallas, but I didn't. I said the Flames in 6 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see Ryan Carpenter do good.
Yeah. He's been scratched though most of the time there though.
I've been meaning to actually look that up and kind of research the Blackhawks players that are, still in the playoffs, but we'll see. They got him for a reason. So I think they might be involved in more playoff games than you think. And Nikita Zadorov is on the Flames as well. So
yeah. Big Z.
Okay, we gotta wrap it up here. Minnesota Wild versus the St. Louis Blues.
I got the Wild in 6. They got the hot goaltending and they're going in super duper hot. So I gotta go with them.
This is the series that I'm most excited about. I must say it's going to be fun, and I hope that the Wild kick the St. Louis Blues. But what did I say? I said Wild in 6, but it might be 7. I think it'll be a good series.
It will be a good series for sure.
Okay, last one, right? Yeah, last one. Edmonton Oilers versus the Los Angeles Kings.
I got the Oilers in 6. I keep saying 6 games, but that seems pretty standard. Like I said, I don't think LA will be an easy out, but their power play is so bad, and I just don't see that being sustainable against the Oilers.
You had the Oilers in 6, huh? Okay. I am going for, this is me rooting for the underdog here. I'm going for the Kings in 6. I think this is going to be the upset. Sorry, Duncan Keith.
My upsets all come in the second round, not the first round.
Okay. But yeah.
We'll get to that later, though.
I don't know. I've never been a big fan of the Oilers. I think like the Maple Leafs, they're kind of trying to choke in the playoffs.
Yeah, they got star power, but it's like they're not enough,
I think we agreed on all of them, Brooke, except for Edmonton versus the Kings. So we'll have to see how that all pans out.
Yes.
All right. That's awesome. Okay, you guys, please give us your comments, your picks, what you think. We'd love to hear it. And for the most part, you guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will be back again next week. It's amazing how much there's to talk about this time of year, even though the Blackhawks are out of it. Don't forget THW bets. And that's it. Enjoy the playoffs, you guys.